Thank you, everyone, for attending, for participating in this community and in this Dharma session. Thank you for all of your support in the past, right now, and hopefully you can continue to help us. So the title this morning is, I think it up and then I write it down and then I promptly forget it. So now I forgot who I told. Was it good? Okay, what was it?
Intention versus goal setting.
What?
Intention versus
Yes.
goal
Thank
setting.
you. Intention, in other words, the intention to do something, bring something about, or have something happen on the spiritual path is quite a bit different than the intention in any other way. In the relative situation, the intention to get a new roof put on your house or something like that. There's a certain way that you do that, a certain protocol, a certain set of whatever standards or even algorithms. So there's a fancy word is used today about how that comes about, how you move this from that, and you don't do this. You do that, then you do this part. You can't build a roof for a house unless you first build the foundation, obviously. So there's when you're talking about the illusion of this relative realm that we have all been deposited in, that we think is so damn real, and it is not. As I say over and over again, it's unreal. It's vivid, but it's unreal. So that's a little bit more workable in terms of the illusion. You push on this, something falls over. You pull on this, it either comes with you or it resists. All the relative things that confirm and give us our validation that we're somebody, we're here, and I can move my hand from here to there, and I can move my other hand from there to there, or I can just not do anything. I have complete control. No, you don't. You have a little bit of control, not very much, when you think about what's happening in the mind stream, which is a different dimension of consciousness. This is one dimension of consciousness, extremely solid, real, and predictable in terms of the belief in past and future. If you believe in a past and a future, and you're convinced by it, then it's going to look like something happened back there and something's going to happen up there. This is not true. It's relatively true. And isn't it fun? You can plan stuff. Oh, that one thing, you can't plan that because that's about intention. An intention, and what the spiritual path is, the intention to see the truth, and how that's going to show up for this person or that person, depending on your karma, how tall you are, what your sexual orientation is, all the different things that cause you, help you, or make it available for you to interface with other people in your lives. Other people in your lives, how you're going to do that is totally different than someone else. Please do not set up standards. Don't follow any damn rules at all. But don't be disrespectful to anyone, and don't be disrespectful to the rules. Observe the rules. And if you're observing the rules out of your awareness, not out of your bullshit opinions, then you'll know exactly how you need to do that. And you won't have anybody's approval. You might have a whole lot of disapproval. And it might be difficult as hell to do that. But you need to be genuine. Be who you are. Be the karma that arises. Don't miss your life. Don't miss your life by being this person because they don't like what you're doing. Or I'm not saying that you won't get yourself into some trouble doing that. You may end up in prison. Possible. And it's very likely you'll end up being disliked, disrespected, or ignored, or whatever by so many people. But you will be genuine. I'm not talking about deliberately going out and I got to be me, and so therefore I'm going to just do whatever I want. You won't have a thought like if you're actually living this out of your heart, out of your consciousness. You won't necessarily be obstructive or disagreeable at all. You might be extremely pleasant to be around. It's just that you won't do what other people think you should do. Kind of simply put. And you actually get to have all the feelings and emotions that you've been trying to suppress, push down. Other people have been telling you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be feeling this way. You'll actually be able to feel those emotions, whether you express them or not. That kind of thing. That's actual emotion. I'm not acting. I'm not an actor. Although sometimes someone said recently, quoting somebody else, that Buddha must, because he was a nobody, realized he was nobody, must have been a great actor to act like somebody. No, nothing ever happened to the Buddha other than he realized who he was. And his whatever karma was showing up there continued to produce and retract, produce and retract, or produce and receive is another way of saying it. You actually get to be who you are. We can do that. It won't be easy. If you need support for that, if you need Dharma teachings from that, not from this old man, but go to the Buddha himself. The Buddha said in the First Noble Truth, life is suffering. The cause is desire. And the goal is cessation. Cessation. It's one of those. I don't know which one. Cessation is cessation. But what ceases is the interesting thing. It's not the desire. You need to see it. If you don't see it, then and then every now and then there'll be a pause where you'll have a conversation about where you've just been and where you think you're going. And then it doesn't make that noise, but that's the closest I can come. The actual noise that it makes is, you know what that is. Jabber, jabber, jabber in your mind stream about this, about that, about that. This happens and we think this and think that. It's just a flood of commentary on everything, elaborations on everything, analysis, judgment, logic, rationality. Very difficult. So the relative idea that you can plan this and do this and set it up this way and have an understanding that you're going to need to go around this corner to get to the other side of this. Those are all very relevant and very, very important. You need to do those. Some people are extremely good at doing that. Engineers, scientists, planners, fundraisers. But the spiritual path, when they say it this way, this is my understanding of it. I don't know what Dalai Lama is thinking or Karmapa or what Khenpo Tsultrim Jamsa was thinking just before he reached his 90th birthday. He just passed away recently. Great teacher. I don't know what they were thinking about the spiritual path. They were thinking or teaching whatever they were teaching. But I'm saying to you, if you happen to be a student of mine for the next 38 minutes, whatever it may be, then let's consider this. Consider that you could just receive. Just receive. If you're going to do anything, then it needs to be intention, which is not a movement. I'm not sure what it is, but not a movement. It's just the intention. And nothing happens in intention. Because this is as close as you can come in the consciousness to approximating or having an opening towards the ultimate nature of reality, the ultimate nature of being a living being. And so nothing occurs there. This is what His Holiness the 16th Karmapa said when he was passing away into Parinirvana in 1981 in Chicago. There's nothing happens. Nothing happens. Look at that. Look at the happening and hear that teaching in your ear. Nothing, what you're looking at, nothing happens. This is unreal. It's unreal. It's happening, but it's unreal. It is like, it's not the same, but it's like watching a movie. You know, it's unreal. Movie. It'll be over pretty soon. And then you'll watch the commercial. Unreal, unreal, unreal. One unreal thing after another unreal thing that all look very, very solid. So the way in which you do that as a practice is to very biased in this area. Sit down, hold still, sit symmetrical, and watch the illusion. Observe the illusion go away, come back, get stronger, get darker, get more difficult, and get softer, easier, more fluid, more harmonious, more melodious, more, and then flatten out into just an open space like a desert. Not much is going on there. Just observe that. And you will notice over time, if you want to call it that, that which is observing is not doing anything. That which is receiving is not a thing. That which is receiving is not a person. That which is receiving is, to use the conceptual identity, is consciousness only, perception only. Just awareness, just awareness. The practice is awareness, and the fruition. So you have the ground of suffering, you have the path of training a mind or awareness, meditation. You have the fruition of, what is that? What is that fruition? You find out. There's really there have been people talk about it, but there's really no description for that. Big quote, it is beyond the relative conceptual idea of, I did this, and then I did this, and this happened. Now I don't suffer anymore. That will not show up. And if someone tells you it shows up and they try to sell you their book, buy it. I can scowl better than you can. No, Toby, you're not scowling, but this fellow right here, he's scowling. Well, he's not right now. He's not. Good. You'd have to get way around here to be able to see. You can turn and look, scowl at her. Go ahead. Are you scowling? You are. Don't give me that.
I'm scowling.
Where's it?
All right. Now there's a
That's pretty
scowl.
good. That's pretty good.
That is a good scowl. What is that? That's genuine. That's not an act. If you want a piece of this, come and get me. You know what I'm talking about. I dare you. No, maybe you don't get it. What I'm saying is, if you disagree or if you see things differently, then let's talk about it. Come and tell me. Come and show me. Come and point out with your insight, if you can see it. Go ahead. Are you about to do that?
No,
I want some warning. I just want some warning if you're about to come after me.
heard of this, some warning.
What? What was that? I didn't say morning, I said warning.
Or OU.
Oh, you. We lost it.
OU.
Oh, you.
So, you said intention, there's no movement there?
There's no movement in intention, no.
What, is that negating stuff relatively happening?
It's not negating, no, it's including it. It includes everything. The intention includes everything. Every raindrop, every bird, every piece of dirt, it includes everything. You're not disagreeing with anything. Nothing is happening there except your intention to see the truth. See the truth yourself. You can see this. No one can do this for you. The Buddha can't point it out. I can't point it out. Teachers down through the centuries have pointed, but you have to see it. And if you look at what is being pointed at, and you go into your ideas, your concepts, your cultural baggage about this situation, then you will obstruct yourself and you'll obstruct everyone that gets around you. Stop it. Go ahead.
Sure, Mike. What's the kind of movement that shows up in goal setting?
The goal setting is, we need that. We have to build buildings. We have to go somewhere to get lunch. We have to buy groceries. What is happening there? We're doing things in the illusion. You're functioning maybe even better in the illusion than you are if you think there's a right and a wrong and up and down, back and forth. You think some people are doing things wrong and I'm doing things right. Everybody should be like me. More, please don't stop. This is what this topic is about. Very much so.
It's not Chris, but I wanted to go into like helping others, like how these two areas help us or hinder us to do that.
The best you can with helping others is to mind your own business, but don't take your eyes off from that person or that situation. Receive, receive, receive without adding on your stupid, I have to use that word, stupid preconceptions about what should or shouldn't be happening. This is coming out of hope and fear of something happening with this. We need to protect this, so we come up with judgments and ideas and opinions about others. And this makes us feel relatively, sure, for a short time, safe. There is no right and wrong, misunderstanding. And a lot of the laws and rules and everything are meant to give us some kind of a structure to work with in a world where people believe in relative truth. They don't realize this is an illusion. So therefore we have people in prison that shouldn't be there. I've met many of them. They shouldn't be in there, but they are, because of laws and rules, and this is a nation of laws and all that baloney. Well, it's going to have to be that way because there's no spiritual path. At least if there is, there's not much of one. Find a spiritual being anywhere in the politics. I don't care if it's on this side or that side. You can't find it. I'm not saying there aren't people that don't profess that, possibly even people that actually are on a spiritual path. I don't know everybody, of course. It's not showing up very strongly. Very, very intelligent, brilliant, kind, loving, charitable people are there, but those are still egos trying to be good. More. Help us.
So allowing. With those egos that are trying to be good, if they don't have a formal spiritual path, is there any chances that can still be insightful or fundamentally helpful?
Of course, it can be. I don't know about fundamental, but it can be very, very helpful relatively in terms of cause and effect. But it's very much in the realm of relative truth, and it does work. And if we only have a lifetime, then it would be fine. Or if you're going to live forever, it would be fine. But this whole situation, this whole human being goes back into the intermediate state or into that area where it's just consciousness only, and the strength of an ego or the strength of a consciousness that thinks there is somebody is completely modified by not having a body as a reference point. So you don't have a body, you're just there. And then anything that you've obstructed or shut down on is going to come up and try to get some kind of credibility there. And then you're subject to all the other things that are happening. When I say things, I'm saying that very tentatively. They're not exactly things, but forces in consciousness. Just like I'm often using the example of the purple alligator in the kitchen, which when I say that, then everyone would maybe think or have their idea, their concept, or their image of that. That just means that we're not separate. I can create things in your mind, and you can create things in my mind. Are they real? No, but they're there. It's like a dream. This is what happens when the body drops. This whole thing is, as they say, up for grabs. And it's not, there's no grabbing going on. But then your particular karma is going to unfold and unpredictable. There's just no way to predict it because the whole idea of time and space has gone away. It's good here. Nothing's happening right now. Oh, now something's happening. Okay, present, nothing's happening. Future, something's about to happen. You ready? This is the future. I'm going to show the future to you. Hasn't happened yet, so not the future yet. I think he can outscholar me.
You will.
Oh,
Rough, no,
no, there's no winners.
I know.
Okay, here it comes. Okay, this is the future. Now it's the past. You can't find a foothold there. You really can't find it there. But we struggle with that. We fight with ourselves. We torture ourselves. We suffer, and then we fight with others and torture others. Maybe not intentionally, but we make it very difficult for all of us to just live together because we're always looking for cause and effect to see if we can't get some control over something. very difficult. And we've been doing this for centuries. That's an understatement. Even centuries is not enough. So I'm saying spiritual path, start intending now to see what this is, so that when this body mind does collapse in 3 years, 10 years, 50 years, when it does collapse, that intention is still there. This is the vow that transcends karma, not my words. This is a teaching, been around before any of us got here. Yes.
Bowing. Looking at that area where people relatively are helping people, like helping feed people or sick people.
Yes.
And in a sense, it seems like they're meeting a situation where it's at. What's in the midst of that, what is a kind of fundamental help? Is it some deeper situation, or what is that?
Well, if you're feeding the hungry, so to speak, that should be, I'm not sure what your question is. Help people relatively, and help people ultimately. And the way you help people ultimately is to mind your own business unless you are invited. Do not give anyone advice about anything based on your ideas, opinions, judgments, and evaluations of who they are, what they're doing. And do not, if you can help it, don't judge what other people are doing. You don't even know what you're doing. You don't even know what kind of karma brought you into this weird situation where every 3 days, 8 days, 15 days, or maybe once a year, you get extremely depressed and have no idea why. So what do? We try to blame. We go to people who have shingles on their wall, which may be helpful, may be valid. We'll actually try to cover that up with medications, or give us things that aren't really covering up, but trying to help. It's not wrong. We're just doing the best we can with relative truth. We don't know what the mind is, but we keep trying to fiddle with it. Let's fix it. Let's do this. And then we give people credit. We authorize people. I'm not authorized to do anything. I am my own validation. Nobody told me I could do this. And I don't have a shingle. But you're here, you're listening to me. Why? I don't know. Yes, sir.
I'm trying to, I guess, pin down what intention is. It doesn't seem like we can see that if it's not a movement and it's not the help.
You can't see it. You can't see it. It's not an emotion. It's the word for it would be bodhicitta. Relative bodhicitta is helping people, feeding people, doing people, putting others before yourself. You want to do this, you want to do that, but this person needs your help. You're going to stop what you're doing here and you're going to help them. I mean, you might not help them and then brag to them about how much you're helping them, or you might not tell your friends, well, I really saw they needed my help, so I helped them because I'm a wonderful person or something. So you just do it. Whereas ultimate bodhicitta is there's no movement. If you have questions about it, it's a difficult area to ask about. It's like you don't have any agenda other than this. That doesn't mean you aren't badgered by this or this emotion or that feeling. In my situation, the thing that is most difficult for me is my health. Quite irritating to be 83. Everything's falling apart, and it's not done falling apart yet.
There's a specific situation I'm wanting to look at where I just ran into a friend, and they were working for a long time at a food kitchen in kind of a dangerous city where they're getting spit on and knives and guns pulled on them occasionally. And it seems like it's selfless. Like, why would they do that if they were getting something out of it? And I'm wondering how that still might be a self-centered situation or about them.
Well, I'm not saying it is. It might be completely generous and kind of them to set aside without a spiritual path, just feel sad for others and want to help others. So it couldn't be just, but it's still relative. It doesn't go beyond the conviction that we're a separate being helping. Well, at least we're helping and others aren't. If we can just help and try to convince others to help too, nothing wrong with that. It's just a relative area. And it's valid. We're living, we're alive, we have nerve endings. people around us have nerve endings everywhere, and everything is receiving, and quite often, as the First Noble Truth says, suffering. It's not always very neutral or even pleasurable. So I'm not sure you can get closer to that question, and I can get closer to an answer or a response at least.
Bowing.
Yes.
Would I be understanding you to say that the spiritual path is about looking at that, the self and other, misunderstanding?
Yeah, there isn't anyone else, but that's the ultimate statement about it. A relative statement about something is other. Things are fundamentally not separate. We don't know that. I'm over here with my ideas and my convictions, my feelings, and I'm looking at you doing what you're doing, and I'm thinking, shouldn't be doing that. You should be doing more what I think is right. I'm being very simple-minded about it, but we do this constantly in so many different ways. All these boundaries, walls of the mind, as it said in the Heart Sutra. Go ahead.
If our intention in what we're doing isn't to see that, are our actions circular?
They could be circular, but they still may be helpful. You still may be feeding people, but it has a loop quality to it. Goes around, comes back, goes around. It doesn't fundamentally look at the situation of belief in a separate self that can win, belief in a separate self that can lose, belief that somebody's wrong and other people are right. They're right and wrong thing. Believe that you're my property and you can't do anything unless I say so. This even happens in monastic situations. I endeavor not to do that, not to control people, but to work with people where they're at. That's why you don't have a lot of rules you have to follow here. You have to observe them, and that observing may be observing how you can't do that. I have several people that observe the rules and tell me they can't do that. I don't do anything about it other than saying, I think you should do it. You can't do that. I don't say then, that's okay. I just let them not do it. You follow me? You know what I'm talking about. You've experienced it too. And then there's other monks who just obey everything, like Nishikai. Where's he at? Yes.
Sanji.
Is it Sanji or is it Sanji or is it? Yeah, Sanji. It's Sanji. I did give you that name.
Yes.
Yes. And what does it mean?
Mountain of compassion
Yes, it does. How's that going?
every day.
Well, good. Everyday mountain. Go ahead.
Are you talking about the difference between the path and the way?
Path and the way.
Mhm.
Same
Do
thing.
you same thing?
Same path. It's going to show up differently. Some people will have more of a path feeling to it, and the other to someone else that will have a feeling of the way. Are you asking me if the way is more like intention?
Yes.
Maybe a little. It has a more of a romantic feeling to it. The way of the Buddhas. That's me. Way of the Buddhas. Yes.
For me, the path seems to be more that quality of a relative feel to it.
What's your question? That's a statement.
Is there a difference?
You could, as I think I said, you could see it different ways, but I don't know. Fundamentally, there's no difference. The path, the way, it's the Dharma. The third of the three pure precepts is I vow to be with all things. And that may be the way, it may be the path, it may be, it may be just whatever happens, you're with that. Whether you bring these together, the positive and negative, life and death, you bring them together as just this. It's called co-emergent suffering and confusion and wisdom and enlightenment arise together. And this, you do this every time you bow to the altar. You're actually using your body as a mudra to say this to yourself, this is just a chunk of wood carved like a person. We're not worshiping this. We are showing respect to our own enlightened nature that we are looking for, or we are intending to see.
So is the helping of others both spiritual and?
Finish. And that's not a complete sentence.
Relative?
Yes, you could say that. I wouldn't get too conclusive about it, but it is. If someone who's feeding people who are hungry, it's obviously a spiritual act and a relative. It's all of that together. Nothing is really fundamentally separate. It's just that it has a circularity to it of I'm doing good, or even if you're not good, someone you're not thinking that maybe if someone attacks you or goes against you, then you'll use that as a credential that well look what I'm at least I'm helping people. So there'll still be some kind of ego orientation there that wants credit or doesn't want blame or wants blame because they're such a terrible person. That's also ego, thinking that you're a failure, that you can't get any right, or you all of the self-centeredness. Anytime you come to a conclusion about anything, I don't care how accurate it is, this is ego. If you think not, come and get me. I've been accused recently of being too strident. Probably going to get worse. I'll probably sit here one of these days and get so strident I have a heart attack.
I'll have those for you.
Huh?
I'll have those for you. Okay?
You'll have
Don't worry
those for
about
me?
it. Yeah, yeah. Don't worry about it.
Okay, I won't worry about it. There's some other questions, please.
I'll go by, how about, Dharma talks, when we're talking about, intention and goal setting? When we're here in front of you, listening, we have the intention of hearing you. Goal setting seems to be more into the, I want to understand, I want to see what you're pointing at, and there's more, cognitive,
Yes.
discursive conversation. Do we do both?
Yes. Yes, and each person will do this differently. Some people are extremely conceptual. I'm not trying to stop them from being conceptual. I would encourage it. Some people go deep into concepts. Some of them are right here. And I want that. I'm not particularly conceptual or intelligent in that area, but some of my students are extremely intelligent and conceptual. We all need help with that. We need to look at that. I want to do that. That's why we spend so much time studying texts like Vasubandhu's teaching, or Dogen. Dogen is another one that's very difficult to work with because he speaks relative and absolute truth at the same time, and then you can't really deconstruct it or parse it out in such a way that you can see that what part is you can't see it. So the feeling of not understanding is powerful with Dogen. This is why I say to people, and I'll say it again here, when you study the Dharma, it is not about understanding it, because the conventional understanding is more like building a storage building. You know how to do it. You know where the lumber is. You know where all the 2x4s are. You know you have to put a fountain. You know what I'm saying. You have to. It's a structure. And I'm not saying that the Dharma isn't like that to some extent. The provisional teachings are very structural. The Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, the 12 links in the chain of existence, the 6 realms, the 3 realms. You can go on and find all those structures, but eventually you get to the area where the structures that are pointing towards the ultimate understanding start to collapse and come away. Some people get us closer to that ditch in the dark than others. Vasubandhu is one of them. If you read the 30 verses 40 or 50 times slowly, it might actually enter into your thinking process in such a way that you start to see with concepts the nature of what this is. What an astonishing teacher that lived a couple thousand years ago. Almost a couple thousand years ago. So more about that?
On Divine, what would be a goal for listening in a Dharma talk?
Receive. I've had people come and study in Dharma talks and maybe do 10 or 15 classes and just say, I just can't understand this. And I say, it doesn't matter if you understand. I mean, I spent the 70s studying Dharma material with others in a group and not understanding. As I said before, I'm very slow. Very slow. But I just continue to come out of the inspiration of my teacher. I kept coming back. I always felt like everybody. If you're studying with someone who has a degree in nuclear physics, which I did, you're going to feel a little bit on the slow side. For someone who can actually take concepts and shift them around in such a way that you can't track it, and you're too embarrassed or too full of pride, as I was and am, to ask a question. So, Jeremy, use this, Jeremy Hayward. Jeremy, could you repeat that again, or could you say that more slowly? Because I'm not very smart, but I couldn't do that. But in our situation, we could do that. In our Dharma studies, we could slow down or go. That's why we study this over and over again. That's why we repeat. And we want to include everyone. So some people, just because someone is slow, I'm speaking on behalf of myself, doesn't mean they're stupid. They're just slow. They think slowly. I think very slowly. And that, of course, that is going to appear in 1955 in the fourth grade, like you're stupid. And also, if you can't remember very well, that also shows up as not very smart, doesn't it? You would know because you're very smart and because you've got a memory that's extremely consistent, accurate, and I would say it's pretty dependable, isn't it? So I'd like to know what this means in your memory situation, because anybody that can remember things I consistently forget. More?
What is the difference between having a goal for receiving and an intention for receiving? Is there a difference?
So the intention to receive won't necessarily feel like you're receiving, but just don't give up on that. Just continue to try to understand that in your consciousness, and anyone in your kind, you need to understand it yourself, so you're not like getting that understanding in the form from someone else, because then it tends to go into the what conventionally we call the fourth skandha, or thinking process. So it won't happen in that area. It happens in deeper into the consciousness, that area that cannot be tracked, because it's not locked into structures called time and space and just concepts as they are. We use concepts, we need them, but it's not locked down by those. This is why someone like Vasubandhu is just so astonishing, because he's able to talk in such a way, even when it's translated out of the Sanskrit. That's how many translations do you remember? There's 11.
It's 11 on that sheet.
Yeah, 11 different translations, and all of these students are all read that material and come out with a different kind of understanding, a different way of putting it into English. Amazing, just amazing. That's how powerful his statement in Sanskrit is. We probably all should study Sanskrit. One.
And seems like we're taught to intend certain things.
Yeah.
So how is,
Can you give me an example?
intend to be with all things, or intend to,
Oh, you mean what I'm saying?
what you're teaching?
Oh, I thought maybe your mom and dad.
No.
No, they're not.
So it feels like there's something active going on.
Yes. I have to say something, so I'm saying intend. Eventually, I'll say it this way, if the practice of intending, which doesn't feel like anything, it doesn't feel, you're not going to get any credit for that. There'll be no feeling of, I think I'm getting more and more intentional about. Eventually that falls away. As it's falling away, the belief in in a self, in a central identity of you comes apart. And it was never together, but there's the illusion that there was somebody going somewhere, succeeding and failing, getting better, getting worse, whatever. That starts to come apart with the intention, with the vow to be with all things, the vow to save all beings, the vow to put others before yourself, because the otherness is the fundamental illusion that there's someone here and someone over there, something other. And when that starts to come apart through the intention, then just it's like nothing is happening. And then you are the intention. The consciousness itself is the intention, and you're still able to talk. You're still able to wave your hands around. You're still able to get mad or get happy. You're still able to do anything. You're not limited. You might even say you're less limited because you're no longer operating out of success and failure, either your own judgment or the judgment of others. This doesn't mean you're unconcerned about what other people think. You may be more concerned with what other people think and feel than you've ever been. You might be extremely sensitive to others' emotions and feelings, but you don't do something with them as if to try to stop them because you appreciate basic teaching of Pratitya Samutpada, dependent origination. You see that anything that arises does not have a source. That everything that arises has the illusion of being singular, but it is supported by everything else that is coming. This glass of water is supporting this. You can't see the connection because you think there is a connection. You're thinking relatively. And of course, it's pretty hard to think ultimately, but it's possible. It's just not called thought. There's look at the hierarchy we have now that we're living in. Imagine if this hierarchy keeps going. You're limited by your human form, but only so much. But when the human form goes away, consciousness keeps going. It's possible to show up in another form, in another realm, sometimes called a completely pure realm. That's possible. Will it happen? It's not an occurrence. Go ahead. You have another question?
Shanjian, does you said the self falls apart due to
The illusion.
the intention.
Yes, the illusion falls apart.
The illusion falls apart.
Yes.
Is the intention aligned with the nature of what consciousness is?
The intention is consciousness. It's just taking up a shape. Consciousness always finds its own form. In this case, it's finding a very rarefied, a very subtle form of intention. But there's no shape to it. It has no form, formless. It's not formed like a concept, like the concept of say the word autonomy, or say the word any kind of a structural situation. Just in conversation we're having here, there's all kinds of concepts that are there. There are structures in consciousness. But when it finds that form, it hasn't actually found a form so much as it is that form, because it no longer has the polarity. This is why it is the vow that transcends karma. Because the cause and effect situation starts to fall out of it, and it becomes just the intention without a result. More about it if you have it.
Shanjian, so we're giving the consciousness a form.
Yes. No, you're not giving the consciousness a form. Keep going. Can I ask someone else for help? Can you say what it is? What he's asking about? Can you repeat the question? Go ahead.
Are we giving consciousness a form to attach to with the intention?
What would you say?
Sounds like a lottery at 5, so you can't say no. You can reapply if he wants.
To read what?
He can reapply if he wants.
Okay. Is that helpful?
No.
Well, that's why you're an attorney and he's not. So it's about something where there is no, as you use the word reify, there is no substantial, it's not substantial. It's not a part of the illusion that you have to believe, buy into, push away aggression, pull on passion, or turn away from distraction or ignorance. It's better than that, and it's worse than that. It's worse because it will not support or fuel the ego or give any support at all to the self-centered part of the consciousness that we call narcissism or ego. Sometimes called liberation. You're already liberated. All you have to just turn to that. Already the truth. It's already there. It just may not feel so good. Yes, sir.
Yoke bowing, does intention encompass everything? Bowing.
If you use the word encompass, perhaps, but you don't have to use that. You were to say that is intention everything, then I would agree with that. Not encompass everything. Further questions? Any questions online?
Adriana bowing.
Go ahead, Adriana.
What is the intention behind the Sangha or being in the Sangha? Bowing.
It's just community. You're all studying presumably under a particular teacher or studying a particular teaching all together. And so you do this together. The karma that you bring into the situation, the karma that everyone else brings, is all different. So you work together. Doesn't always feel particularly good, even though you're all doing something similar. It's different because each person's dynamic, each person's karma, passion, aggression, ignorance, hope, and fear, and all the things that come out of past lives and past, and even in this lifetime, the conditioning, the cultural conditioning, all of that stuff is all coming together in the community we call a Sangha. It's very important. It's probably of the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, it's the one that is the most, I think, misunderstood and even disregarded. In past times, it's about controlling the Sangha, making them all follow rules. And in that cultural context, maybe that was necessary to do that, is to have really strict rules of celibacy and can't do this, and 350 rules for women, 250 rules for men. It's just probably necessary then. Although if I live back in that time, or if we all live back in that time, we might see where that might be really necessary to do that. I don't think it's necessary today to do that. So having a community gives you a chance to be with other people who are also trying to understand what it means to work with the whole idea of ego and consciousness, the whole idea of passion, aggression, ignorance as the three poisons, the whole idea of the 12 links on the chain of existence, the whole idea of the 6 realms, the realm of the gods, the realm of the jealous gods, the human realm, the animal realm, the hungry ghost realm, and the all beings. So you're doing that with other people and studying that together. More, Adriana?
Adriana bowing. Is there an intention that has to do with friendship in the Sangha? Bowing.
Yes. And that's going to show up in so many different ways, just like conventional relative friendship and just in cultural society shows up in different ways. It's pretty powerful. I mean, it's just, but you can also have difficulty in the Sangha with others. I mean, you can have people in the Sangha that you don't feel particularly friendly with. That doesn't mean that they're not a student of the Dharma, or that they're making a mistake or you're making a mistake.
Bowing.
Yes. Hi, Shirley Ann Zobian. Haven't seen you in a while. How are you doing? So, Yuhang,
玉红宝音, you just said that when the body and the mind collapse, if I can recall what you said correctly, the intention transcends our karma. What does that mean? What is the intention you're talking about? Bowing.
so the intention is to be with all things, or to see the truth, to see what this is. And the teaching is relatively is nothing is separate from anything else. It's called Advaita, or non-duality. That they're empty of a self. There's no solid being here. There's a body here. There's bodies here, and there's empty of others. So even though it looks like, as you look across the room, I look across the room, we see other beings, we see walls, we see windows, we see trees, or whatever we're looking at that looks like it's something else. But your true nature, though it's temporarily tied into this particular manifestation of a human being, your fundamental nature is consciousness only. This is teaching. I'm not inventing this. What I can say is I'm not teaching this out of what I was taught, although by not being taught, I would not know anything about it. By not having two very, very insightful and powerful teachers, I would not be here. I would still be going in circles if I had even allowed myself to continue living, because that was quite a threat when I was young, wanting to get out of here. It was very difficult. For some reason, I'm still here, whatever you want to call it. So it's the fundamental understanding is there is this manifestation is an illusion, and this illusion goes on everywhere. And when the body mind collapses, this consciousness doesn't stop, because it has no phenomenal status, not a thing. It's just the nature of everything. It's consciousness, and you're not separate from it. But by being downloaded into a human form, it looks like this illusion is real, and therefore we fight, or we agree, we go to war, we go to peace, we take all kinds of positions, and we do that lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, and either things get worse, and eventually that consciousness that showed up as a particular sovereignty, I won't call it ego, but a particular singularity, that eventually goes back into the light, if unless there's some kind of obstruction, and that obstruction being karma, or the belief that you're somebody. And if that's really strong, eventually that just comes apart. It doesn't mean that you're separate from consciousness, or you're going to hell or something like that. But it's not possible to really describe that, I don't think.
Thank you.
Could be.
You said.
Go ahead, please.
You said that just return to the intention. Is there any difference between returning to the intention and maintaining the intention? Bowing.
Yes. Don't maintain the intention. Don't maintain anything. Just don't maintain. If you've received a vow, which you have not formally received one, but don't maintain anything. Just return to it. Let everything fall apart and then return. When I say let everything fall apart, just in order to do that, you have to just receive all the differentiation and desire that shows up in our minds, being moment by moment by moment. It can be very, very challenging and difficult. It feels like you're just losing, you're not getting anywhere, but this is the nature of samsara, failure. And so the way that people do this in society is to get a credential, get famous, be popular, do things that everybody approves of, or do things that people don't approve of. There's another kind of attention. To be somebody obstinate or difficult or challenging or outrageous. So don't maintain. What you do is you return to it. That way it aligns, to use that word that someone used recently, it aligns itself with ultimate understanding. It goes back into just be with all things. Just put others before yourself. Really, because the illusion that others, especially some people that are really difficult and disagreeable, to see that you're not separate from them, that's very difficult. especially if what they're thinking, doing, or how they're acting is not like it. It's irritating to you, it upsets you, and they're terrible people or whatever it may be. But you're not separate from them. So receive that. This is what's called drive all blames into one. This is a traditional teaching way before we got here. Drive all blames. That's an intention to see that you are responsible for everything. And if you're shifting things in your mind in such a way that you think that you're to blame, or you're to blame, or you're to blame for how I'm feeling, this is the very nature of suffering and samsara, and it is painful. And this is why we have wars all over the world. Find out who you are, without a doubt, because if you die with this, if you have that kind of conflict in your mind, this tension in your mind, where you think somebody's right and somebody's wrong, and you're either one, any kind of polarity in your mind, if you die with that, and it's not horrible, you just have to come back in another lifetime, come back again, and be introduced to the same classroom. Maybe you'd be in the 3rd grade instead of the 2nd grade, but you're coming back. How do I know that? I don't know anything. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe nothing will happen. Maybe nothing does happen. Actually, that's true, because there's an illusion. However, it's really, really painful, isn't it? It's painful. Sometimes it gets just excruciating. So difficult. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
In the past, you've talked about observing the forms with our body.
Yes.
Does that also apply to intention? Like, do we need to intend with our body?
Yes. So the relative part of it is sit down, hold still, get to the wall, sit down, hold still, sit symmetrical, and just receive or just observe. So that's the intention is to do that. But what your ability, or your feeling like you can't observe, or feeling a judgment that follows on top of that, wants to pile on and judge, just receive that. So anything that shows up, as soon as you sit down, an ache in your knee, you receive that, but you also don't indulge in it like, oh, I have to stay here no matter what, and try to be kind of macho about it. Am I getting close to what you're looking for, or there's some other aspect of it?
Yes, but I'm trying to go into conduct.
Yes.
The role or the importance of conduct more when we're off the cushion than when we're on the cushion.
Yes.
I'm curious about if our conduct is a way of intending with our body.
To some extent, but it has to come out of awareness. If it comes out of rules and laws and standards and protocols and social mores and all that, then you may have to do that. You may have to do that your whole life. It's very possible you'll never really liberate yourself from that. The liberation may just happen if it does, well, just happen in consciousness. You may be stuck in a prison. You may an actual prison, which is one way of looking at it, or a prison of your mind may just be in there. However, your practice still could be, if the karma that you came into this lifetime is really, really intense, you may never appear like a liberated being. You follow me a little bit on that? Okay. So it's not about how you act, even though there's a traditional teaching, I think, in the theistic thing, by their fruits you will know them. And I think that's bullshit. I mean, literally it is. I mean, because people don't have any say-so about how they're functioning and how they're acting. There is no free will in the sense that it's quite often said that you can decide, or you just have to make the right decisions. This is just baloney. I'm just sorry. I'm heartbreaking to have to say that, because it would be great if we're making some choices, but take a look at your life and notice how many choices you've made, the right ones, the wrong ones, and we can go back and say all kinds of things like that. Did I get any closer to what you're looking for? As a response, anyway. Maybe you don't see it that way, and that's fine.
Yes. I keep in my mind coming back to a resident who moved out recently who had public difficulties with their commitments.
Yes.
Specifically with time and showing up on time and that kind of thing. And on several occasions, you spoke about that directly. Keep your commitments,
I do.
So I'm just curious about that idea of commitments, agreements, and the conduct and how that
Yes, yes.
do it with the body, not just, oh, I'm intending in my mind, but then I stay home. Like, do you have to actually do something with your
No,
body?
no. I'm not saying that there's nothing to live up to. It's whatever you do is what needs to be done. I mean, the spontaneous realizer said it very simply and better than I can say it. I'm going to repeat what she said, and that's Byron Katie said, "How do you know it's supposed to happen? It's happening." He said it that way. This is someone who deeply understands dependent origination, just out of her. How do you know it's supposed to happen? It's happening. There's nothing. She's actually saying something so very simply. And this isn't to come in with a second thought after and say, well, does that mean it's right, or that mean it's you've been to right and wrong? You missed it. There's nothing to correct. I have people who have disagreed with me and have gone another direction. They are not wrong. And I don't sit back and think, well, if they just had understood what I said. No, it was we did the best we could. They did what they did with what I was teaching, or what and my intention to teach is this is just how it's happening. I don't decide anything. I don't decide between should I treat him this way or you this way, or how should I do this? It just happens. Everything is just happening to me, and it's actually happening to you. But if you're in this room right now, you may not have realized that yet, or you may have. Maybe you're just hanging out. That's possible too. But the fundamental deep understanding, this is the last thing I will say before we close, is what His Holiness Karmapa, the 16th, said, 1981, before he passed away to the Vajra Regent Ursula Tenzin, is nothing happens. Profound, ultimate statement that is a relative statement about what this is. Nothing actually occurs. Why? Because this is my statement about it, or addendum. It's an illusion. It's not that it's not showing up. It's just that it's an illusion. You don't have to believe anything. Don't believe it. Don't believe a word I said. Consider what I'm saying. If it helps you, then I'm happy. If it doesn't help you, then I guess I'm happy that you were able to listen. So thank you so much. Thank you for coming, for attending this Dharma talk. Thank you for all of your help in supporting this community, both by attending, by practicing, and by financially supporting us. We need your help. Please continue if you can.